Good afternoon, Cedarfield family. I hope everyone is well on this fine Friday, January 15th. Residents and team members that are here at Cedarfield, thank you for tuning in. And if you are taking time out of your Friday evening to listen to this information, we appreciate it. Those families, Pinnacle Advantage members, team members, residents listening tonight, again, thank you for taking time out of your Friday evening. The format for today is very simple. Yours truly will talk a little bit about 4 different topics. One is the current situation, 2, a little bit of the vaccine education, and then we'll get into some more information about the rollout next week and lessons learned from our first distribution day yesterday. But before we go into that, I just want to share with you a quote. Last night when I came home after that very long day, my son Roger, he said to me, quote, "Daddy, you are now protected from COVID-19 and you will now be able to see your grandkids, my children," was his quote when I walked through the front door. And when I was reflecting on that quote, by the time I got home until I fell asleep last night, it was another little micro moment in time where just to kind of sit back and think about all of the unthinkable toll that this pandemic is placing on everyone, but especially children, the social, the emotional, the academic ordeal, so extreme that really a lot of experts believe that our children that are dealing with this pandemic will be dealing with emotional issues for a long, long time. We're just not really quite aware of what they all are right now. My reason I mentioned this quote at the top of the hour here is the unthinkable things that, unthinkable toll that it's placed on all of us as well here at Cedarfield. The last 10 months reminded me again of a conversation that Renee and I and the executive team had on Wednesday, that now that we are seeing more of the light at the end of the tunnel, that we're rounding the turn, we really need to think about a relaunching plan, a reconnection plan to what we believe is our sense of normalcy here in the next couple of months. And I think we really need to be intentional about relaunching Cedarfield operations and all of the committees and the action teams and the different programs and events that we have. The unthinkable toll that maybe we're not all even aware of, or we've lost relationships around the community. We're gonna spend some time in February and March and really be intentional and purposeful about planning out relationships at Cedarfield and reconnecting people with one another and or events and programs that folks used to be involved with before this pandemic. So just wanted to plant that seed, that relaunching plan, we, residents and team members alike, are going to develop that plan in the next 60 days. The current situation, our 7-day positivity rate, actually some good news as you're looking at the Virginia Department of Health's 7-day positivity rates. We follow 5 different areas. The Commonwealth of Virginia is at 14.6, which is down from actually all the way through Monday. It's down to from 15.2. The Central Virginia, our central regions kind of stayed the same since Wednesday at 17.3. Henrico County has now the fourth reporting period, I'm saying Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, is down to 12.3. Richmond is at 9.4, also down from the last two reporting periods. And Chesterfield is also down to 14.2. They were at 16 on Wednesday. So a little good news with some 7-day positivity rates, although all of 4 of those 5 metrics are above 10%, which gives the Virginia Department of Health great pause in continuing to help us with a real-time evolving preparedness plan to meet the need of what is going on beyond the gates of Cedarfield, but also here locally. So talking about that, our dashboard here at Cedarfield, memory support area is completely green for residents and team members. Assisted living is completely green for residents and team members. Our health center, our 3 neighborhoods, north, central, and south on the health center, has a little bit of a different story. That dashboard is red as of about a half hour ago. It continues to be red as it has been for the last week. We have 3 positive cases, pretty much asymptomatic cases in the north neighborhood with residents. We have 2 positive cases in the central neighborhood with residents. One of those residents has some slight symptoms. The good news, so we have 5 total positive cases in the healthcare area of residents, and all 5 of them are doing fairly well at this point. So thank you for your prayers and your positive thoughts headed in that direction on the west side of the property. We do have 2 team members in the health center that are positive and have been out for the last 6 to 7 days. And then we have 2 residents on the south neighborhood that are under isolation for a couple of different reasons. Also in the healthcare area, one of the nurses in one of the hospice companies was positive. And when that particular nurse was here and we contact traced her whereabouts, there are 2 additional residents that we have our eye on. One that's in healthcare and another one that's in Sunshine Plaza, who that nurse was in and around during that day when she found out that she was positive. So again, the healthcare dashboard is red, and we are facilitating weekly testing at this point. This week was our 2nd week in a row where we are testing every resident and every team member. And we're actually, since this is the 2nd week, ending the day here on Friday, we're continuing to receive the results back from those tests from the lab over at Jeanette Works on Cox Road in Broad. We have about 35% of the tests back that we conducted on Wednesday. So, healthcare. In independent living, in the cottages, last week we had 2 residents that were positive. Those residents cycled off, and then we had another resident pop up about an hour ago that is positive in the cottages on the lane. That particular positive is a result of the contact tracing efforts and the quarantining that we asked residents to adhere to in the beginning of the week. We asked 16 residents to quarantine, and because of a positive case within the petitions, and so I mention all that because when we facilitate the contact tracing and we ask people to quarantine, it's for good reason, for the safety of the individual and the community at large. And this was just interesting how this was one particular positive case that really did come about because of another positive within that quarantine group. So we are all eyes on that the 16 residents who are patiently and been very cooperative over the last few days who are quarantined due to that exposure. Ann Hopper's doing a great job making sure that these 16 residents are doing well. We had another positive resident case pop up here in the main building about an hour ago as well. And Ann Hopper and I are contact tracing that what we believe is the person who actually was in this resident's apartment, contact tracing another situation. So we will keep folks updated over today and over the weekend as a result of this other positive case in the main building. Do we need to quarantine anybody else? At this point here, Friday at 3:15, it does not look like that. So, and then with the team members here in the main building, we have 2 team members that remain positive, and we have 3 other team members that we have our eye on because of a potential exposure outside the walls of Cedarfield, and we're waiting on their tests to come back. So I know that's a lot of information. So in the cottages, I consider the cottages green right now. In the main building, I consider our dashboard yellow. We are on alert here. And so those of you that live in the main building, my message is very simple. Continue doing what you've been doing for the last several months. Wear your masks, good infection control, and stay 6 feet distant from one another. You are free to continue to move about the main building, but we really ask that we step it up a little bit and be extra vigilant with our Cedarfield shared values here in the main building. But the main building is a yellow dashboard at this point. So that is our data here locally and in the region. For our COVID-19 education, I just want to take a tiny step back. For me, yesterday changed everything. A flashback back to January 2020. For those of you that don't know, the brains behind the COVID-19 vaccine is a husband and wife team of researchers. Their names are Yul Shaheen and Yuslam Tarisi. This team, this husband-wife team, were the founders of a company called BioNTech in a little town in Germany. Their extraordinary lab work done in anonymity goes back many years. In the past, those of you that don't know, they focused on developing cancer therapies, especially by programming cells to produce therapeutic proteins. And so if you read a lot of the data about these 2 researchers, for a decade, their company, think about this, their company had never brought about a product to the marketplace for over 10 years. Never, not once, they had this technology. It was during a 2018 conference of infection control experts around the world. This conference happened to be in Berlin, where Professor Shaheen made a very bold statement on behalf of his company, BioNTech. And this statement is as follows. His company might be able to use its messenger RNA technology to rapidly develop a vaccine in the event of a global pandemic. End quote. 2018, he said that. I just love I love and value looking up this research of these two individuals, this husband and wife team, since they were at the center of this technology. And I'm hoping that this particular YouTube that we create every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that gets uploaded into Touchtown, I hope that our friends in Germany, that we want them to know that we humbly accept this breakthrough science, and we thank them, we thank BioTech for launching what was a project called Lightspeed in mid-January 2020. The story behind this vaccine development, every time I think of it, just leaves me in awe, and we wholeheartedly thank them for their contribution to the world. It was a glorious day yesterday, I have a picture of just holding that little vial and thinking about all the work that has gone into that. And then for me, of course, is the supply chain, right? So it's not just the two of them coming together, but a successful program is built on the functionality and the end-to-end supply chain and the logistics that made yesterday happen, that are happening all over the world. The role of the supply chain is just, it's just, again, all-inspiring to think about the storage, the handling, the stock management, the rigorous temperature controls. Wait till you see next week the residents that have an opportunity to come to one of 3 different zones here. Wait till you see the temperature control management and the additional logistics that it takes to pull off providing a vaccine for what will be 440 people next Friday. It's quite a feat. You have to have the right product, the right quantity, the right conditions, the right time, and so that supply chain is just unbelievable. So all that to be said, I am asking every resident that is watching tonight or today, I'm asking you for an enormous favor. Yesterday was I call it the cavalry arrived at Cedarfield. Those Walgreens pharmacists are, in my opinion, the cavalry. And there was a lot of great moments yesterday. I was very proud of many people. But what I'm probably most proud of yesterday was how we treated those Walgreens pharmacists. There was 5 of them that arrived yesterday. There was 2 technicians. And we celebrated their role yesterday. We celebrated the fact that this huge supply chain that's happening around the world, the distribution process came to Cedarfield, and those pharmacists were at the end of that supply chain. And we celebrated it. We rolled out the red carpet, there was balloons, there was fanfare. We fed them lunch, we gave them water. We asked them all day long of how their well-being was. We valued every time that they took that one little vial, and you should wait till you see the process it takes to mix up each syringe. We were in awe, 1 dose at a time, that medical science reached Cedarfield, and through the hands of those pharmacists that we were all given hope. A vial of hope was instilled into this fellowship hall. And when those pharmacists left Cedarfield, we said the following. We said, thank you for being part of our life. Every one of them received a thank you from many people. We thank you for being part of our life. This is what we do naturally here at Cedarfield. This is not any rocket science that I'm talking about. This is the Cedarfield way. We have an awesome, loving community here. So here's my ask. And I don't want to brag or I don't want to boast about how we treated those pharmacists here. But it is absolutely appalling to me how these pharmacists are treated in other communities. It really is appalling to me. We rolled out the red carpet. We had signs for them on the green circle. One pharmacist, as they parked her car and walked into the main community, was in tears because we had a welcome Walgreens sign outside. And she said, we don't get that everywhere. We don't get water. We're stuck in a small room. People barely know that we're there. People are disrespectful to us. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine that. At the end of the supply chain, we have pharmacists taking that liquid gold, that vial of hope, and helping all of us, and yet people around the world, right here in this county, are not respectful to these pharmacists delivering this vaccine to their entity. I find it mind-boggling. So my ask is, when residents or team members in the next couple of weeks, when you're sitting at a table with a pharmacist, can you do me one big favor? Can you just please thank that pharmacist for being present here, for helping deliver a vial of hope to Cedarfield, and thank them for being part of our life. I would imagine you'll never forget this pharmacist's face and the fact that they gave you this particular vaccine in this moment of time during this global pandemic. I would be most grateful if you could please spend just 7 seconds just thanking them for their time that they'll spend here at Cedarfield, what will be 5 more additional dates. So, thank you for listening. The cavalry did arrive yesterday, and they will definitely be here next Friday. We did get confirmation from one of the pharmacists, the lead pharmacist. Her name is Britton. They will definitely be here next week. They are coming with 6 pharmacists and 2 technicians. In fact, we treated them so well. The person who Matt Dameron works with, the account manager, she said to Matt, she said, when the pharmacists came back last night, they all requested to come back to Cedarfield for the next 5 dates. That's the first time that the pharmacists have asked her to be voluntold to come to a specific community. So the same lead pharmacist that we had yesterday will be here on Friday, the 22nd. Again, 6 pharmacists, 2 technicians. What we are thinking about, we are thinking about 3 particular zones. And this will all be dependent on the, again, another supply chain item, the equipment that they'll have available to them. So we are thinking, or they have told us tentatively that they will have enough equipment to be able to, and when I say enough equipment, I'm talking about they have to come with 3 freezers at certain temperatures and have thermometers in those freezers. So they may have 2 or they may have 3 next week. Depending if they have 2 or 3, we're going to set up 2 or 3 different zones at Cedarfield. One here in the Fellowship Hall, perhaps one down in the clubhouse, and another one in the Atrium Cafe. And what Renee's task, my task next Monday or Tuesday, is to work out a schedule for each of those zones. Once we know that we're going to have 3 zones, we're going to work out a schedule and identify specific apartments to come into one of those zones at certain times throughout the day, so we don't have long lines, and we're going to make it manageable for the pharmacist. So we're going to work on that on Monday and Tuesday, and I'm going to pledge that we, by Tuesday at some point, will have some semblance of a schedule to be able to hand out to people and to what zone to come to at a specific time. So, Ann Hopper has told me that at this point she has everything she needs from the independent living residents, both in the cottages and the main building here, and Matt has told me for the residents that are in assisted living, he has all of the vaccination administration record and all the data on those particular forms. One note that we did come up with a little snag about yesterday is please be sure to have a driver's license with you. That is a really critical thing to bring with you. That's kind of the final registration step. And then additionally, we, our next Friday evening going into Saturday, we will have additional RN coverage here in independent living in the event that we have some reactions from the vaccine with folks that live in the cottages, assisted living, and or the main building here. Speaking of reactions, we had 250 people get their vaccine yesterday. I can hear the crowd roar. And we had 0 allergic reactions yesterday. So that was just great news. And this morning, we had 0 staff call out for any other additional signs and symptoms, so that was great. I think that is all. Oh, one other thing, sorry. Residents that live in assisted living, you are automatically considered a zone. We have 30 plus residents in assisted living. We are probably going to go door to door in assisted living with one of those pharmacists at a certain point of the day. It doesn't look like at this point that they want to set up a zone in assisted living because they want to go door to door. So I think that is all I need to cover. Renee, any questions that have come in? We have a couple of questions that we are going to address. We got many questions. Okay, first question. Sunshine Plaza will they be getting the shots? And the answer is yes. Sunshine Plaza residents will be getting shots as well. And one of the pharmacists will be walking around door to door down in Sunshine Plaza. If the government releases all the stockpile vaccine to the public, will Walgreens still have enough to do the second dose here? To my knowledge, we were talking with Cassie. Cassie is the senior pharmacist who's in charge of like inventory for each of the clinics. And yesterday, Chris Henderson and I were talking with her, and we asked that same question. And she had said, we have enough vaccine to take Cedarfield all the way through the second dose, through the third date of each clinic, which happens to go into the beginning of March. So she assured us that the freezer that they have, it was really interesting, the freezer that they have is about as big as this podium, and it holds 30,000 doses. So she, given her supply chain and her inventory control and management yesterday, again, going back to the supply chain management system, it's just interesting to hear from her all of the training that she's received from Walgreens and CDC to make sure that this product is safe. So the general answer to that is yes, we should, given from yesterday, we should have enough. The question is, I do not drive, so no license. What should I bring? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. If any resident is listening to this live and or tonight, if you don't have a license, we will ask the Walgreens team early next week how to resolve this. So that's it. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you so much for listening. In closing, I would just like to share two quotes for you. One is from a 105 young person named Helen Bethune. Helen received her vaccine yesterday because we had one dose left and we did not want it to go to waste. So Helen came down, Helen got her vaccine, and she's sitting over here in the fellowship hall on the east side. Alice and Zach and I were talking with her, and here is what Helen said, and she gave me permission. Listen up, people around the world. There have been interventions my whole lifetime with smallpox, rabies, tuberculosis, yellow fever, polio, measles, mumps. Medical science has treated us well and continues to do so. Michael, please tell the world through that social media thing, if I am confident in receiving COVID-19 vaccine, I humbly request to consider the benefits of receiving it distributed to everyone and spread the cheer. Florence Brooks shared this one final quote when she heard Helen Bethune's quote with us from David Schlossler, who is a very famous award-winning fiction, nonfiction writer. And he says, I think anything that comes out of the mouth of a person older than a century has certain intrinsic wisdom to it. I hope you all have a great night and a better weekend. The management team is in and around the community throughout the weekend. Since we have some areas that are yellow or red on our dashboard, if you need anything, just please reach out and we will get service or answers to you just as quick as we can. And I hope the 440 people that are getting their vaccine next Friday, I hope you sleep well this weekend and have some relaxing moments. I know for me, on Wednesday night, I was so excited about Thursday, I slept 1 hour. In fact, the night before, for the first time in my entire life, I set out all my clothes the night before. My wife says, what are you doing? I said, tomorrow is just a grand day. I picked out all my clothes the night before, had them hanging on my door, ready to go. I was very excited. I know 440 of you are excited as well for next Friday. We're going to do all in our power to make it as a seamless day, but yet we're going to, again, celebrate next Friday the fact that Walgreens is coming and that vial of hope will be here. Have a great Friday night and a better weekend, and we'll talk with you soon. Thank you.